This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Howdy, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com. We have a special episode.
Yeah.
It's the all Bill Oberst Jr. episode, a retrospective of some of his movies. By no means all.
Oh, God, no.
The man's a machine.
He's got about 1,000 movies under his belt.
He does. Most of them, though, rather small parts. I communicated with Bill via Facebook private message and went over a list of movies that he would recommend that we look at. Abraham Lincoln vs. Zombies, which we've reviewed before. Children of Sorrow, which is a new one for us, although it's from 2012.
Didn't we do this one already?
I don't think we did. No, I hadn't seen Children of...
I had seen it before.
Had you?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I hadn't seen it.
And usually I don't see these kind of movies unless you force me to.
Right. Yeah.
So
never mind. I got to get more baling wire. I gotta get my supplies up to Scary or Die. Also 2012. We definitely reviewed that. Coyote. That was new to me. New to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Deadly Revisions. Also new. Blackwater Vampire. We hadn't seen that. So those are the ones really. Well, Blackwater Vampire I just found on my own, and Scary or Die. Bill is only in that briefly, but
yeah. Because it's a little skit kind of movie.
Scary or Die is, yes, indeed. Yeah, some better than others. All right, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with what I would say very definitely is my favorite of all of Bill Oberst Jr.'s movies that I have seen so far. Children of Sorrow, a 2012 movie directed by Jordan McClure, written by McClure and Ryan Finnerty. It stars Bill as Simon Leach, Hannah Levian as Ellen. I won't give the names of these actors, but I am going to read them out. Whitney Nielsen, Nick Kaufman, Galen Howard, Daniel Mentz, Rachel Orlikov, Liesl Hansen, Martha Brigham, Jacqueline Johnson, Jefferson Rogers, and Peebo Powell. I thought, all fine actors, all fairly young. Bunch of good-looking women in that group, I noticed. and this is sort of keying off the Manson family sort of thing.
Yeah.
Bill plays a charismatic maniac whose sole purpose seems to be to get a whole bunch of young,
people together,
beautiful followers, and then kill them.
Yeah, that's what I got from this movie.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of reason for killing them. He just likes to kill people.
But it all starts off so innocent.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Although you know something's up because he's showing you the grounds. He's showing you the locale that he has found in the middle of nowhere where he's going to play
mind games.
Cult leader, father to this group. Of course, I saw it just before I saw The Sacrament, which is a movie we talked about recently. And I like The Sacrament a lot more. The Sacrament is simply a more professionally made movie.
Well, I find...
But similar idea.
Yeah.
Cult leader.
Yes, definitely a cult movie. I find that all of Bill's movies... The thing that really sets them apart from a really well-made movie, I think, is the lighting. And they're usually sort of handheld type video kind of movies. Either somebody's doing
a cheap side.
Yeah, somebody's doing a documentary and they're
right.
That's the facade they use,
right.
or it's found footage, or if it's not one of those two, the lighting is always the weakest point, so it makes it look like somebody with a handheld camera shot the thing.
I noticed in Abraham Lincoln vs. Zombies when I was watching it again last night that the sound is terrible. The sound pops up and down.
That's the second thing is that it's the lighting and technical aspects of the movie that make it look bush.
Yeah.
It makes it look amateur. And sometimes the performances are really good.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
And
like in Children of Sorrow, as I say, my favorite movie that Bill has starred in. I just thought that was a terrific movie. Wonderful double bill with The Sacrament. I would think they'd
well,
go
if you
well
want to
together.
get overdosed with cult movies,
really.
Get people getting killed.
Yeah.
But the difference is, in The Sacrament, the leaders weren't there to kill their followers. That was just done on the spur of the moment moment because they figured it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah, panic for some reason.
That wasn't their outset plan to kill all these people. Whereas in the Bill Oberst film, he had an agenda, I think, from day one. Yeah,
well, as I say, it's chilling. The first scene is him showing, and he's got a girlfriend. He's got a pretty young woman, although, gee, she's mean looking. She is played by Whitney Nielsen. Mary is the character. And she's following him around. He's ordered her to take video footage of everything.
Right.
And he's showing her how to lie. He's showing her how to act sincere. He's showing her how to appear to be touched by God and to be a holy man.
Yeah.
And it is very chilling. It's also a little bit of an acting class from Bill, I thought.
Yeah. The
way he says, notice how I've dropped my voice down and I've lowered my eyes and I've done this and I've done that. And it's true. Those are all tricks that you see on TV preachers, for example, who are, in their own way, nothing but big-time cult leaders.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Good commentary on
and I like
the whole
the fact that
thing.
It starts off with the chosen. Children
the
to
acolytes.
come. It starts off with them, really worshiping Bill.
Mm-hmm. Well, first we were introduced to the character played by Hannah Levy and Ellen. She's looking for her sister. She knows that her sister joined a cult being run by this guy. And, they don't get into the specifics, but that's who she's looking for, and that's how she gets involved with the cult. At first, unlike the others, she is nothing close to being a believer.
Right.
She's very skeptical. But sadly, she comes to worship him the way the rest of them do, and as her sister did, because there's something obviously lacking in her and her sister, and all the other followers.
And then the way he slowly pushes them further and further into this depraved, all these little things that little rituals that they're doing.
Well, sex with him, that's a big thing. Yeah.
Well, other than that. But there are these little rituals that they're constantly, and it's getting further and further and further, and then finally to the point where, this person's not a believer, let's hunt him.
Right. But also they seem to understand that the purpose is to go on to the next life, and you have to die. And most of them are okay with this, but the way that Bill, who in this movie plays Simon Leach, the way Simon kills them becomes more and more horrible. He beats one guy to death like Robert De Niro's character of Al Capone in The Untouchables. He just beats him to death at a breakfast table while everybody is eating. It's monstrous. I thought he did a spot-on performance. I really liked this movie, and I thought everybody else did a good job, and it was believable when one or the other of them decides, I got to get the hell out of here, and they try to run. And as you say, I mean, they're hunted down, and this is why things are accelerated at the end. There is an escapee, so I don't want to go anymore.
And Simon, he does this over and over again. Once he's finished with one group, he starts assembling another group. And there are a few that stick around with him to help him along.
Right.
But
he chooses one helper, one pretty girl.
That's what this thing's all about.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah, it is. It's very disturbing. It's disturbing because people like this do exist. People like Manson, and this is like a more Manson type cult than a Jim Jones type cult, which is the Sacrament is like Jim Jones. This is more small potatoes. But there's also, of course, with the death and passing on to the next better life, this is like those crazies who wore their robe and their new running shoes and went off and all killed themselves and went to join the spaceship that was hiding in the Comet Hale-Bop's tail.
Yeah.
Remember those guys?
Oh, yeah.
They were in Switzerland and Quebec, I think, were their two houses. Boy, they were pretty batty. And they used to do websites. They used to do, that's how the cult made money. They would do websites for people.
Well, as long as they did them well.
Well, they were technologically adept, if crazy as loons. Let's get on to the next movie, which is Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies, also from 2012.
I like this movie.
Yeah, well, I remember Mark liked it a lot more than I did.
It's
when we
one of the
first
more
talked about it.
high-budgeted movies that Bill's done.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's written and directed by Richard Schenkman. It stars Bill as Abraham Lincoln. The interestingly named Baby Norman, plays Mary, a prostitute and former girlfriend of Abe's. Hannah Bryan plays Mary's daughter, Sophia, another hooker. Jason Vale plays John Wilkinson, who we learn or figure out fairly early on is John Wilkes Booth. Don McGraw plays General Stonewall Jackson, a captured Southern general. This all takes place during the Civil War. Christopher Morone plays Pat Garrett, who would later go on to battle Billy the Kid. And Cannon Kuipers plays a very young Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
And he gets most of his best lines, like walk softly and carry a big stick from Abe. We learn this. Pretty silly darn movie, but fun. It's a fun and funny movie.
I liked about it.
Yeah.
It was fun. And plus, the fact that they really made Bill look like Lincoln.
Yeah, they even fool you on the height now and then.
Yeah.
Every now and then. He looks like he's well over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
I think they had the other actors standing in trenches.
And they used a real fort
Right,
as a backdrop.
Right, historical fort.
A real historical fort as a backdrop for one of the battles.
Now, these zombies are the slowest, stupidest, luckiest zombies that I have ever seen in any movie.
They really rushed this out to get ahead of the big budget one.
Abe Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Yeah. So this came out like a month or two before.
Yeah.
For the big budget one. So at the time
clearly a ripoff.
Yeah, we reviewed it because it came out just before.
Yeah. Well, I was fooled at first. I thought, this is one of the movies I've been waiting for. No, not Vampire Hunter. He's a zombie killer in this one. Yeah.
There's some funny parts in it.
Oh, sure.
They figure that the zombies were being created by some sort of spore in the air and stuff like that, and they blow them up at the end so that all of their ashes get flung into the air. I just thought, oh man, who wrote that?
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that they've got an explanation. They just think of it as something that breaks out every now and then.
Yeah.
Somebody might talk about spores, but what they knew about microscopic disease during the Civil War is pretty small. Stonewall Jackson, jeez, just the makeup on this skinny guy, missing an arm and all that stuff. You can see the edge of his beard where they've glued it onto his face. It's so bad. It's so cheesy.
Yes. But at the same time, it was fun. Like you said, it's a very fun movie to watch because it's so silly.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's really low budget, and they're just kind of putting it together as best they can.
Right.
I like the speeches that Lincoln made, the way he talked, the way that Bill talked in this movie was very natural, and he said some important things.
Yeah.
And, I'm going, geez, somebody who wrote this really put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, that's Richard Schenkman.
So I thought, the script was at least decently handled.
Right. You know what struck me, and I'd have to watch other movies again with Bill, but because this is the last one that I saw just last night. But what struck me is the way that Bill sounds as Abe Lincoln. He sounds just like Lloyd Bridges. the intonation, the tone of his voice, and just the sound of it sounded an awful lot like, looks like I picked the wrong week to give up sniffing glue. And the ragtag group of followers that Lincoln has, they're just the most feckless bunch of idiots.
He doesn't want to tell them that they're going against zombies.
Right.
So he's hidden the fact. And he's leading them into this zombie-infested fort or whatever it is. Right. And then he just lets them go. He doesn't tell them.
Well, they have to keep the action going. And there isn't much of a story here. There really isn't. They get to the fort and they continue to battle zombies. And somehow or other they think if they can get all the zombies into the fort and then blow it up, because Stonewall has got a huge cache of black powder.
Yeah.
If they can blow up all the zombies, that'll end the plague.
Yeah.
Why they're all just milling around this one fort,
who knows?
It doesn't really make sense.
And milling is a good word.
Yeah,
because they don't really do anything except for stand around.
They do. And I watched one scene that they keep using over and over. It's from the top of the fort, from the parapet looking down. And it's like a nice grassy little hilly field. And I see this one zombie, this one old man done up as a zombie, and he just keeps walking in a little circle up the side of the hill and down, up the side and down, but like a really tight little circle, only a few steps, because the director probably said, okay, just want you guys to, do some zombie stuff, don't move around too much. Okay.
Yeah.
That's his zombie acting.
We don't want you walking off the set.
No.
Off the camera.
Nobody check their watch.
Yeah.
Nobody take out their pack of smokes.
Well, they probably, had them just wandering and took some stock footage for, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And just cut up bits of it.
Yeah, and some bits are used over and over.
Yeah.
It is mega cheesy, I thought. It has an interesting look because they've sort of drained a lot of the color out of it, made it almost a sepia tone movie. So it has
I noticed that as well.
The look of a photograph from that Civil War time 150 years ago.
But wasn't it that the whole Confederate army was zombies or something?
No.
Just this one.
Yeah, just this fort, and it wasn't even soldiers per se. They were mostly like town people, because there were as many big fat women walking around as there were big fat men. So it didn't have a lot to do with the Civil War, except that it was taking place during the war, and I think somewhere close to
the Gettysburg.
The battlefield of Gettysburg. And at the end, when Lincoln delivers the famous Gettysburg Address, you get the idea that he isn't talking about the war between North and South, but between humans and zombies.
Yeah.
And of course, they have a young, good-looking black man working on Lincoln's side. He's sort of like his lieutenant. And he, from his African mother's roots, knows what a zombie is.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
However, he says they were mostly used as slaves, and then one of the white guys pipes up and says, "Those aren't the kind of slaves I like." It's like the most tasteless line. Oh man, it doesn't have a hell of a lot. It's trying to say something about slavery and the human condition and that, but I don't think it works too well as social commentary.
The movie starts off when Lincoln is younger, right? And
he's as a child. He sees an outbreak when he's a child.
Yeah, and his mother gets killed.
Yeah.
And
his mother's already a zombie, and his father, I think, has to kill the mother. And then doesn't he have to kill his father?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah, and then they crush that zombie uprising, as you would call it. And then it's years later when he's in office that somebody reports that this little village near this
horrible thing happened.
And he recognizes it. Yeah. Oh my God, it's another zombie rising. Let's get some intelligent people together.
Yeah.
Let's go down there in our black suits.
And he's like, he heads it up. I mean, he's like Captain Kirk leading the landing party to the most dangerous planet in the galaxy.
And doesn't he even do some training with the stakes and things like that?
He manages to find a collapsible scythe, like a handheld scythe, and he's like, a samurai with this thing. He's lopping heads off left, right, and center. Lots of semi-professional CGI work in this, with black blood spattering everybody. And Mary, Lincoln's former girlfriend, not to be confused with Mary Todd, his wife, who he's left in the White House. But
doesn't she turn into a zombie, or her kid?
No.
The kid doesn't turn into a zombie?
No, I don't think so.
No.
But anyway, Mary, his former girlfriend from when he was a young man, that he had a dalliance with, and then he was going to marry her, and then he released her, so he didn't marry her, and even though she's been bitten or spattered in the face with zombie blood, and she's turning into a zombie, it happens slowly enough that they're able to have lots of heartfelt conversations, and before finally somebody has to kill a woman. Yeah.
A real fun romp.
It is. It's super cheesy, but that can be fun. So now, Scary or Die, we reviewed a year or so ago. We're only going to talk about the first segment, which is called The Crossing. Written and directed by friend of the show, Michael Emanuel. Bill plays Buck in the episode The Crossing. And he is one nasty piece of work. He is real and Bill is good at playing these racist redneck maniacs.
Yeah.
And it's him and a young guy who's like his slavish follower and a young woman. And the three of them are in Bill's truck. And Bill's plan is to go down near the U.S.-Mexican border and terrorize some illegal immigrants.
Yeah, he knows a place where they come across the border, and they're going to sit there with their truck and their guns and wait for these Mexicans to come over the border to terrorize them.
Yeah.
And they end up stopping at a gas station place, and they have some sort of confrontation with the locals and things like that. By the time they get to the border, turns out that they have more than just plans of just waiting around for Mexicans. They've brought their own.
That's right.
In the back of the truck.
That's right. There's a couple of Mexican guys in handcuffs or tied up in the back of the truck.
Yeah, and the girl is completely oblivious to this, but the guy knew about it. The guy follower knew about this. So they yanked these poor people out of the back of the truck.
One of whom says, when he has a chance to speak, he says, I have a gardening business in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's like, what?
I'm an American.
Yeah.
He's just brown.
Yeah.
No, that's good enough for Bill.
So they let them loose and they go hunt them.
Yeah. Well, they don't hunt them much. They let them run away and they shoot them in the back.
Yeah.
The young dude with real bad teeth, and I noticed that the nasty stains and black muck.
Yeah.
It keeps moving around on his teeth.
Yeah. I noticed that in his teeth too.
It's like the leopard changing its spots. But anyway, this guy has brought his own homemade filthy kind of liquor, and God knows what's in it, benzene and
it's supposed to stink like heck.
Yeah, the girl refuses to get anywhere near this stuff. But after they've shot these two unfortunate guys, and there are other corpses buried loosely in the sand of this desert pit
you get
stop.
The idea that they've been doing this
for a while.
And they've been
why they'd bring their girl, I don't know.
No.
But that was a dumb mistake. Anyway, so there's bodies buried all over the place, and somehow or other this filthy liquid gets knocked over. And even though it only spills in a small area, that's enough to bring all these zombies in the area up from the
dead
grave.
Back to life.
Yeah. Well, they come back as zombies. And it was well done. The effects in this is a professionally made movie, I thought.
Well, section, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. This movie was hit and miss, but we're only talking about the section with Bill Oberst in it.
Which is the first section.
Yeah, and I thought it was very well done. Much more professionally done than Abe Lincoln versus Zombies, for example. For both the zombies and the special effects.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and it was done about the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So 2012.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love these independent movies. There's not a movie on this list made at a studio.
And there's millions of them out there.
Oh, now. There are.
Now that video equipment has become a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
You just get a crew of people together and you can make yourselves a movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the way they're making it. They're not really giving a damn about the lighting. They're not really giving a damn about sound quality.
Daytime. It's all outdoors.
Well, this one in particular is easy to do because it is outdoors.
Yeah, and when they're in the truck.
But I'm talking about all these different slew of movies that are coming out.
Yeah, like Abe Lincoln. That's pretty. It sounds amateurish. It looks amateurish sometimes. Yeah. As you say, the costumes in Abe Lincoln, it's just like these old style suits they got from an acting company, probably.
Yeah, probably. They probably went into secondhand shops and found old uniforms from old soldiers.
That's right, yeah. They robbed some graves.
Maybe.
So, a very, very nasty scene in Scary or Die, but Bill is terrifying, as he is supposed to be. And, of course, he gets hits. So.
Of course, the dead rising was a complete surprise. He did not expect that.
Yeah, and they should
that coming.
They should very definitely be marketing whatever the
guy was drinking.
The guy is drinking, because that's useful stuff. Our next movie from 2013 is Coyote, or Coyote, written and directed by Trevor Younger. It stars Bill Oberst Jr. as Bill, Victoria Mullen as Jessie, Bill Finkbeiner as Bill's buddy Joe, and quite a few other people, but none that I had heard of. This movie is made by I believe it's Danish. I meant to read up on this before we started talking. I believe it's a Danish system. It said, movies are too studio made. They're too artificial. Let's make some rules. Let's make a manifesto. I think that's what it's called, the Kino Manifesto. And it's just, when you shoot, you shoot. You don't edit. You don't throw in special effects. You don't throw in CGI. You don't rely on After Effects. You get the acting and you get it down, and that's your scene.
Like they did in the olden days.
Well, I don't know about that, because in the old days they were making it up as they went along. So they've always striven to add special effects and use editing and so on. This is kind of a return to primitivism, almost cinema verite, where you point the camera, you get the scene, and you don't even do another take.
Yeah, it's a lot like European film.
Well, it was invented in Europe, this style, yeah. So I believe this is an American movie, although the director, you have any info on that? Trevor Younger, is he American?
No idea.
No, okay. This movie is about a guy who, it isn't that he can't sleep, it's that he doesn't want to sleep.
Yeah, he's afraid to.
For some reason, he's terrified of sleeping. He has the most awful dreams, so he deprives himself of sleep, and consequently, he gets battier and battier.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful scene early on, and this movie is one of those many movies, which is one of my favorite subgenres of watching somebody go crazy.
Yes.
It's like Taxi Driver or The Tenant or...
Yes,
Repulsion.
And we've talked about these movies quite a few times, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, he starts off he's a writer.
Yes.
And he's trying to do some writing. Every time he goes to sleep or nods off, he has these weird dreams.
Yeah.
And they're frightening him.
They're terrifying him.
As he goes along, he decides that he's not going to sleep as much as he used to, which makes his real life hallucinations start.
Yeah.
You know, and now you don't know what's real and what's not real, and he ends up turning into a coyote.
Well, at one point, fairly early in the movie, he's looking at himself. He's cut himself, and it's like he's cut his thumb off. And out of the stump comes this strange, bloody, weird, wiry thing.
Yeah.
And he realizes that, in fact, he's an alien. and he's been sent to Earth to conquer it. But he's just nuts, is what he is.
And then him lathering himself with this black guck all over his body. And it's a long scene. And it's like, he's just...
Didn't he do it to his girlfriend, Jessie, too?
I believe.
Yeah.
It's just weird. And then he's running around with this coyote hat.
Yes.
Which is the head of a coyote.
It's a skin.
Yeah. Sitting on his head.
He kills a coyote. He's out camping, just like in somebody's backyard. And he's got a bow and arrow, and he kills a coyote, and he skins it out, and he's running around with the bloody
Which
raw
comes back
fur
at him
on it.
at the end. Somebody shoots him with an arrow.
Yeah.
Well, he's dressed up like a coyote.
Or does he? I mean, you don't know what's real in this movie.
Is true. Because
the whole thing is a trip. You know, it's very hallucinatory.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
To the point where, you don't know what's real, what's not real, and the ending is kind of weird, too.
Yeah.
And there's really interesting scenes that they do, sort of experimental stuff with the camera and him. And
like when he goes to do a job interview. And he's trying to get work as a cameraman at one of those 24/7 home shopping network channels.
That's right.
And there's one interview where he's talking to the boss, and he's very polite and normal, and he gets the job. And then the scene starts again, and now he's answering like a maniac, and he still gets the job at the end.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's being obscene. Have you got a
cocky,
car?
very cocky.
How does your car run? Like a mother.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, well, all right. Can you start tomorrow? You're kidding. I got the job? Like, even he's surprised that anybody would have anything to do with him. And then as soon as he gets the job, he goes outside. He starts talking with this woman, Jessie, winds up making a pass at her, going back to her apartment. And sadly for Jessie, he is not a good boyfriend.
Yeah.
When she leaves the room at one point to have a shower or something, and he dozes off on her mattress, which is just a mattress on the floor. When he wakes up, he's really, really angry with her for letting him fall asleep, as if it's her fault. And he is so over the top. He is absolutely mad as a hatter. He's naked through much of it.
Yeah, but you don't see a lot.
So it's not true. There's a couple of scenes where
Well,
he's really letting
constantly.
it all hang out. Yeah. But I mean, it's
But
pretty significant male
and
nudity.
It looks like he's really injuring himself at some point.
It does. Yeah, and a couple of times it does look like he's cutting himself. Oh, he's got a big knife. Oh, he's got a huge hunting knife.
Yeah.
And he's sort of pushing it into his own thigh.
Yeah.
And twirling it around and stuff. My goodness, even a really, really dull knife would hurt. Would hurt.
Yeah.
Pressure, yeah.
It's
a wicked knife.
Yeah, at that point I was going, well, did he really do that?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look like it's fake.
Yeah, I know. It's well done. That's, as I say, and without special effects being larded in afterward, as is the usual fashion.
Yeah.
It's all, down to acting.
Mm-hmm.
Acting,
and I
directing.
think that's what they did in this movie. They let Bill go nuts.
Yeah.
He did a really good job at it.
He does.
Yeah.
He's terrific in it. Let's get on to our next movie, another one from last year, 2013, Deadly Revisions. Another one-man writer-director, Gregory Blair, stars Bill as, I like this name, Grafton Thorne, another writer. Mikhail Bloch as Deher McManus, Cindy Merrill as Allie Morris, and Lisa Hart as Kat Torn. So in this, Bill is also playing a writer. Now, I know you really like this movie, Mark. Why don't you tell us about it?
It starts off him at home, and he hears something, and he goes to investigate it, and then he sees a glimpse of something, and next thing you know it, he's in the hospital. And it's like 10 weeks later, he's been in a coma. He's got a bum leg, and he's got sort of amnesia. Can't remember what the heck happened to him.
Right.
Now, his best friend in the world also works in the industry as a props guy. And he's trying to accommodate Bill as best as he can. He says, well, look, you've had some sort of episode.
Right.
You can't remember what's happening. I know you're trying to finish this script. You can use my house in the country.
Yeah, nice country.
So he drives him out to the country and leaves him there.
Right.
He's all by himself.
Yes.
And Bill starts having these visions of people showing up and disappearing. And,
right.
And he's slowly going a little nuts, and he's trying to get a hold of his doctor. And the doctor has recommended a counselor come in to see him.
Hypnotherapist.
And she's coming in regularly every other day to try to figure out why he can't remember what happened to him.
Help him regain his memories.
And these odd episodes are happening with her as well. Mm-hmm. And his ex-wife, he's having trouble with her.
Right.
Because he believes that she's trying to steal his company that made these horror movies.
Right.
And he has all these paraphernalia from his horror movies that she's trying to get a hold of and steal from him and all this stuff like that.
So he's very paranoid.
He's paranoid about that. So there's all these different things happening to him. And much like Coyote, he's going a little nuts.
A little, yeah.
And
this is a slicker movie. It seems more like he's trapped in a crazy situation rather than it's just him going crazy.
Yeah, he's trying to be sensible.
Yeah.
But things are happening around him that he can't make sense of.
Right.
He's not going crazy in that he believes he's seeing this stuff, and he's trying to act like a rational person would because of it. And there's a twist at the end. Mm-hmm. So I don't think we'll say what the twist is because it's actually not a bad movie.
Yeah, it is. In a lot of ways, I think it's the most professional of all these movies we're talking about.
But once again, professional without the lighting, without the sound. It's just...
without the budget, really, is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
None of these movies is costing a hell of a lot to make, although, any amount is tough to raise when you're doing it yourself. But, there's your difference between, in one word, is budget. That's the difference between studio and indie. Yeah.
And at the end, there is a big reveal of what's really going on. Mm-hmm. At that point, then he has to deal with what really is going on.
Right.
And I thought it was clever.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay. I mean, not a spectacular movie, but at the same time, entertaining enough.
Yeah, and underplayed, especially compared to Coyote.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's nice. The movies that Bill recommended, and the couple that we picked out as well, really showing a range.
Yes.
For Bill, character parts.
Yeah, because he can play really evil, psychopath, and a really nice guy, too.
And a victim.
Victim.
Yeah, absolutely. And in between.
Yeah.
And Abe Lincoln.
Yeah. And he
warts and all.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got one more movie to talk about here that we've seen. The Blackwater Vampire. This is a new movie from 2014. Written and directed by Evan Trammell. Stars Daniel Lauzot as Daniel Mason. Andrew Monier as Andrew Adams. Anthony Finelli as Anthony Russell. Robin Stephan as Robin Allen. And Bill plays Raymond Banks. Bill's part in this movie, which is really just a complete rip-off of the Blair Witch Project, except they don't know that they're hunting a vampire. The idea is that Bill's character, Raymond Banks, confessed, although under duress, to murdering a whole bunch of people, because these murders go back 40 years.
Right.
Now, Bill's 50? So he started killing people when he was 10?
Yeah.
Because that is the internal logic of this movie, which isn't logical at all, really. So most of the movie is these 4 young people with a couple of cameras and sound equipment. And
they're doing a documentary.
And the director. And they're doing a cinema verite documentary out in the woods exactly along the lines of the Blair Witch Project. The idea is the leader of the group, Danielle, she wants to prove that Raymond Banks isn't the killer, that it is something more insidious and weird. The exact same scenes. They get lost in the woods. They're going around in circles. They hear horrible screams and weird moans in their tent.
Well, first
at
of all,
night. And also at one point they come into a semi-clearing that has all these weird things hanging from the trees. Well, for Pete's sake, each of those is Blair Witch Project. It really started to make me angry.
That was the second half of the movie. The first half is basically them going to the town and interviewing some of the town folks.
Well, I wouldn't call it the first half. I'd call it the first 10 minutes.
Third of it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they interview Bill in the penitentiary.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is a really cool scene.
Yeah.
Because
he's terrific in it as usual.
It's almost one take.
Right.
No cuts except for at the very end there's a few cuts.
Right.
It's the close-up of his face with the reflection of the girl interviewing
in the
him.
Mirror. In the window.
In the window.
Yeah.
And that's the only shot through the whole thing. And it'll phase in on her face and his face. And sometimes they're both in focus. Sometimes she's not in focus. Or he stands up or sits down and it's just him. But it's very well done. The way you can see both actors doing different things.
His scenes just seemed to be from a different movie because they were compelling. They were very good. Whereas I thought overall this movie was not very good. I thought it was repetitive and badly acted and dull. As the young folks get more and more frustrated, they just act like children. They just act like spoiled punks.
And they're yelling at each other.
It's ridiculous. That's as maybe, but we've been there, we've seen it, and the Blair Witch Project was more or less the first of its kind.
Yeah.
This is not original.
Did you like the little kid at the end?
Oh, yeah, well, they're trying, they come up with a different monster. Obviously a vampire rather than a witch.
Or a zombie.
Yeah, whatever it was in Blair Witch. But, nothing impressed me with this movie other than Bill's performance. And if you're a big Bill Oberst Jr. fan, rent it for that. But otherwise, I would give this one a miss. Before we sign off, I'd like to just mention the next big movie that he's going to be in, which is getting good early reviews. It's called Circus of the Dead, directed and co-written by Billy Pon, whose nickname is Bloody Bill. His co-writer, Lee Ankrum. It stars Bill Oberst Jr. as Papa Corn, Parrish Randall as Donald Johnson, Chanel Ryan as Tiffany Johnson, and Roger Edwards as TC. And this movie is about a traveling circus that comes to a small town in the panhandle of Texas. And Papa Corn is the head clown of a troupe of very, very, very evil clowns. So Papa Corn grabs this family man, Don Johnson, played by Parrish Randall, and essentially takes him on a crime spree. And just degrades and humiliates and terrorizes him. And, so it sounds like a million laughs, but, who doesn't love a clown?
Well, that's it. I mean, there's nothing more scary. Well, look at the Joker and Batman.
Yeah.
When the makeup is done terribly, there's nothing scarier than a clown with bad makeup.
Yeah, I know.
It's just, you don't know.
Once the makeup is all smeared because they've just strangled somebody to death.
Or eaten them.
Yeah. So looking forward to that one. Emailed back and forth to Bloody Bill Pawn, and he unfortunately said that he couldn't let me see a copy of the movie because his lawyer wouldn't allow him, not until they had a distribution deal. But hopefully we'll see it soon, Mark. So
okay. I look forward to seeing how twisted and demented they can get.
Papa Corn. Is that? I'm just realizing. Is that a sort of a foot joke? Papa Corn.
Yeah, there you go, popping corn.
Cut off Papa Corn. Also, I was thinking the feet.
Oh, ew.
Yeah, I know. Slice of callus, Papa Corn.
Oh,
but yes, you're right. It's probably more innocent, like popcorn. Okay. See, I went right to the more horrible thing. I'm seeing way too many of these movies, folks. Okay, so let's run through the list, as is our wont, very quickly. Children of Sorrow. I really liked it. I would recommend that.
It's a real downer.
Right.
It's a real serious movie, and
Yeah.
it's a real disturbing movie. So it's not something I'd love to watch over and over again, but I agree. It's a really well done movie.
Well done movie. Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies. Mark liked it way more than I did.
Just for the hell of it.
Just for the hell of it. It's super silly fun. Scary or Die. Overall, the movie is hit and miss. There's some terrific segments, and there are some
They have a
segments
segment with a clown.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the longest segment, and it's actually quite well done.
Yeah, that was well done. And Bill's scene at the beginning, the crossing, is very good. Coyote, if you like experimental film, I'm just thinking probably the best known proponent of these conventions is Lars von Trier. We've talked about a couple of his movies.
I think they tried to make an art film there.
Yep.
It's definitely artsy fartsy.
It's a horror art movie.
Yeah.
It's all right. I wouldn't watch it again, but I'm glad I saw it once. Deadly Revisions. Again, I think Mark liked this one a lot more than I did, but
when you say
it wasn't
a lot,
bad.
It's okay.
Okay.
I mean, none of these movies are fantastic.
Well, I would say Children of Sorrow is. I seriously, if it wasn't a couple of years old, I would consider that for my top 10 list. And as I say, a terrific double bill with The Sacrament. The Blackwater Vampire, give it a miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing really new there.
Good. The only good thing
I mean,
about
if you like
Bill.
the Blair Witch and you wanted to see it again,
that's right.
This would be a nice alternative.
Yeah, or if you haven't seen the Blair Witch, you'd enjoy this because it would be new to you. If you've already seen it, then I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to Circus of the Dead.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll be back next week with probably some new movies.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? All right.
Okay.
And I'll bet none of them have Bill Oberst Jr. in them.
You may be right. You may be wrong.
Yeah.
Because he's in a million movies.
He is, yeah. As Mark said before we started recording, you look at Bill's IMDb page, and he's got about 30, 40
movies in post-production and pre-production.
Post-production, planning stages.
I mean, just for 2014 and 15, holy crow, he's going to be in a couple dozen at least.
Yeah, but I know when I spoke with Larry Fessenden to do an interview, and then we did a retrospective on Larry's movies, like we just did with Bill's, and Larry said, well, a lot of those movies will just never get made.
Right.
They're on somebody's hope list.
Bucket list?
Yeah, right. But that doesn't, other movies may come and go as well in between that aren't on that list right now.
True.
But a lot of those movies, they'd like to make them. They're never going to get the financing. They never get out of pre-production.
And the way these actors work, especially because these are all low budget, it's a day's work, 2 days work.
Yeah.
Yes, they're in there and they're out of there.
Certainly for
the Witch.
The Blackwater Vampire.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was just a day's work for
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was like one take.
Yeah. Yeah, and he nails it.
Well,
I'm sure they did several takes, but he sure nails that one.
Yeah, it's a nice day's work.
Yeah. It was. All right, so that's it for me. We'll see you next time. I got to say it, don't I?